Welcome to TSHA's Call for Papers for our annual convention. Our goal is to provide high-quality continuing education across the fields of speech-language pathology and audiology, and to promote evidence-based practice. We also hope to cultivate opportunities for meaningful personal and professional connections between attendees. TSHA strives to attract speakers new and experienced that share and are committed to these goals. We hope this brief presentation will give you some tips for creating an excellent call for paper submission. In this presentation, we'll be covering each of the areas required in the call for paper submission. We'll discuss what characteristics the program committee is looking for when reviewing papers and some tips for developing and explaining your ideas. First, let's tackle a few quick details about the call for papers, like the title, strands, instructional level, and presentation type. You'll want to choose a great title for your presentation. You can use up to 15 words, and you'll want to use simple, clear language that describes your topic. Catchy titles are fun, but avoid cliché. Be sure to use title case, that is, capitalize only the major words. Regarding presenters, if you have multiple speakers, enter each co-presenter into the portal. If someone will not be present at the session but they contributed to its development, select non-presenting author for them. Each presenter who will be present at the session needs to sign a disclosure agreement as a part of your submission. Remember that you can only be listed as a presenter on a maximum of 2 submissions, but there's no limit to the number of submissions for non-presenting authors. And then you'll also choose the learning pathway that your presentation best fits in. These descriptions are listed on the TSHA Call for Papers submission portal. Most submissions should clearly fit into one pathway, but if your topic is relevant to more than one pathway, select the one most applicable and then use topic areas to categorize it further. For example, a presentation on bilingual AAC assessment could easily fit into school communication, pediatric medical and early communication, or even possibly adult communication. Choose the one that most applies to the ages that you want to share about in the session, and then use the tags AAC and language and communication. Please also note that you can also designate whether your session meets criteria for ASHA's Content Area 1 or Content Area 2, which are the required content areas that are needed for ASHA certification maintenance. The instructional level is fairly straightforward, and the descriptions are available on the submission portal. When you're deciding on a level to select for your presentation, you'll want to consider the difficulty of your learner outcomes, as well as the amount of background knowledge or experience that you will expect attendees to have on your topic. Introductory sessions should increase attendees' awareness about a topic by providing general information. Participants are not expected to have much previous knowledge on that topic prior to attending. Intermediate sessions, however, do assume that participants are somewhat familiar with background knowledge or experience. The goal is to increase attendees' understanding and application of concepts. And advanced sessions are just that. They focus on recent advances or future directions for research, so it's expected that attendees come with a thorough understanding of that area. Here's a quick description of the types of presentations you can select from. Remember that most types of presentations are limited to 60 minutes, though the 2 specific content areas designated by ASHA can be submitted as 2 hours. Oral presentations, they are the most common type of session at TSHA and the clinically based continuing education you are most familiar with. They're often lecture-based sessions covering one clinical or professional topic, and they should also include various ways to engage learners, such as case study videos, Q&A, or audience participation. Poster presentations are a different presentation format that can be a great fit for students, new presenters, or experienced speakers looking for a more informal interaction with their attendees. Poster formats may present original research, share clinical practices, including program development or quality improvement, or describe case studies in assessment, treatment, or clinical management. Networking sessions are intended to provide attendees with an opportunity to make professional connections within the context of continuing education, and they may be best for submitters with experience in speaking or in moderating discussions. Content for these sessions should roughly be divided into direct educational content and audience participation, with the audience participation portion comprising at least half of the session time in total. When you're submitting a networking session, speakers should fully describe the format and intent of the session, as well as the content that will be covered. These might be formatted as a forum or panel session, or it might be roundtable or moderated breakout discussions on clinical or professional hot topics. For all of these presentation types, the most up-to-date information can be found on the TSHA Call for Papers submission portal, and they may change slightly from year to year. Keep in mind that the type of presentation, as well as the length of time, are final decisions made by the programming committee as they're slotting presentations into the program. Sometimes the presentation type or length may be changed in order to fit all of our amazing content in the program, but speakers will be notified of these changes so they can confirm them before accepting. Let's tackle learner outcomes next. This is actually a great place to start when you first have an idea for a presentation. Consider the question, what do you want your participants to learn or come away with? Your answer will shape the bones of your presentation and help you organize it into sections. Generally, you'll want attendees to come away with 3 outcomes, although you may have more if your presentation is longer. It's important to write your outcomes or objectives in a certain way. This is one of the criteria the program committee requires in order to accept a presentation. Just as we clinicians write a short or long-term goal for our students, patients, or clients, we as speakers want to write these learning goals in a specific, objective, and measurable way. Choose the critical skills that you want your attendees to walk away with. Avoid using words like learn or demonstrate understanding, as these aren't really measurable. Instead, use strong action words that give an idea of what attendees will learn. Remember that attendees will be able to review these in the mobile app or on the website to help them make decisions about what sessions to go to, so you'll want to check carefully for typos. Great way to choose action words for your learner objectives is to reference Bloom's taxonomy. This model classifies educational objectives into levels of complexity and specificity. You can easily find lists of these action words on the TSHA Call for Papers portal or by Googling Bloom's taxonomy. Let's look at how it's organized. The levels on the bottom, remembering and understanding, represent the simplest and most concrete examples of learning. Action words in these levels are best used to teach basic concepts and facts or summarize main ideas. Words might include define, list, describe, explain, and identify. The second 2 levels, applying and analyzing, are best when requiring participants to take prior knowledge and apply it in a new way, or asking them to compare or contrast different ideas. Action words might include implement, demonstrate, use, compare, or contrast. The top 2 levels, evaluating and creating, describe the highest levels of critical thinking, including synthesizing pieces of information, critiquing ideas, or developing something new from what they've been given. Words might include select, critique, evaluate, develop, or design. When you're developing your learning outcomes, it's helpful to consider your instructional level. Introductory sessions will likely include learning outcomes from the lower 4 levels of the taxonomy. Intermediate sessions should include some lower levels and some higher levels, and advanced sessions will likely only include outcomes from the highest 4 levels. Let's move on to the session description. This section is the meat of your submission, and it's the best place to make a case for why the programming committee should include your presentation in the convention program. You'll want to make sure you cover what your session is about and why it's important to share that information with attendees. A great way to begin your session description is to pose a question or issue that your presentation will be answering. It's helpful to prepare by doing a literature review about this question or issue. This will allow you to effectively summarize findings of the most current research articles or describe peer-reviewed tutorials in your summary. Then you can make a case for why this issue is important for attendees to discuss or learn about at convention. Don't forget to cite these appropriately in your description. We'll talk more later about what types of resources are good to consider. You'll also want to describe your qualifications or experience with this topic to support that you have the knowledge and skills to teach others. Next, you'll want to describe your presentation agenda. A great presentation structure begins with some background information from the literature, covers all the stated learning objectives, and includes interactive learning methods for participants. It's fine to use bullet points here to explain what you'll cover. For example, you might include a list of principles, a theory or working model, or steps in a tutorial. As you conclude, make sure that you've addressed the initial question you posed. There is a word limit of 1,000 words for the session description, and the committee is looking for concise, well-written submissions that fully explain why the topic is important and what information will be provided. Remember that if your submission is selected by the program committee, your summary will be posted on the convention website and app for attendees to review. There are examples of good summaries posted on the TSHA website for you to review if you'd like. Next, let's cover the abstract, which addresses the simple question, why should participants choose to attend your session? With so many excellent sessions to attend, participants want as much information as possible to help them make their decisions when looking at the convention agenda. So, you have a 50-word limit to catch their attention. Use 2 to 3 sentences as your elevator pitch. Use simple, clear, and inviting language, and it can be powerful to use a simple question. Check out some great example abstracts on the TSHA convention website. Now let's circle back to some of the topics we mentioned before. You will need 3 to 5 references that support the information that you'll be sharing in your presentation. Let's talk about where you can find quality references. One of the most common types of references is peer-reviewed journals. The ASHA or AAA journals are a great place to start looking, but there are many more journals in our fields and related fields. You can also use current edition textbooks as a source. And another excellent option is the ASHA Practice Portal. Not only is it a great source of information itself, but it also lists numerous references for you to review. Other less common but acceptable resources can be continuing education seminars or webinars, including presentations given at state and national conventions like ASHA, AAA, or TSHA. Please avoid using non-scholarly references for your submission, for example, websites like Wikipedia or YouTube. Let's talk for a few minutes about presentation format. Here you can list the ways that you'll address various learning styles, engage attendees, and reach some of the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. The TSHA Program Committee would like to support speakers in developing their toolbox for engaging attendees in their own learning. So, speakers who have been accepted in the convention program each year can reach out to the Programming Committee at programming@txsha.org for support in this area. For now, let's review a few ideas. First, let's discuss how you can improve your submission for an oral session by including how you'll engage your learners. As you're submitting your call for papers, you certainly do not need to have all activities planned out, but the program committee would like to know what ideas you're considering and what you think will work best for your topic and learner outcomes. PowerPoints, or slides made in similar programs, have become the standard presentation tool for professional conferences, but often attendees are faced with slide after slide full of words. It can be challenging to maintain focus on learning material read off a slide for multiple hours a day. Using slide visuals in a more powerful way to convey a message is a great first step in engaging your attendees. TSHA has some video resources on this topic that are available on their YouTube page. Next, use technology to your advantage. You can show specific therapy techniques with video clips or review a case study and lead an analysis discussion. There are also online polling sites you can access from your phone or a hotspot. Audiences can answer discussion questions on their phones, respond to polls, or take interactive quizzes throughout your presentation. These go a long way to keep your attendees actively participating with you. Just make sure you plan for a way to access these with limited Wi-Fi. Another common technique for keeping learners involved is to use different kinds of breakout groups. This can be a simple 1-minute pair and share where attendees respond to a simple discussion question with a partner sitting nearby. You might also have participants get into small groups for a bit longer discussion. The type of breakout activity you plan and the prompts you give may depend on the size of your audience, and you can be a bit more flexible with a smaller crowd. After the breakout time is up, you can choose whether to take feedback from a few groups or provide your own conclusion to the activity. As I mentioned before, these interactive learning activities are critical for reaching learning outcomes at the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Introductory level sessions might include more reflection and recalling of information, whereas intermediate and advanced sessions should incorporate application, analysis, or evaluation of information presented. Practice labs are the highest level of participation and are best reserved for longer and advanced presentation sessions. Now let's discuss some ideas for networking sessions. There are a few different formats for you to consider, and please remember that networking sessions can be great for professionals or students. A forum or panel session format would include a set number of experts providing information on one or several topics, and then participating in audience questions or discussion for at least half the session time. This would differ from an oral session panel where panelists would speak for most of the session and only allow for a brief Q&A at the end. You'll want to include a moderator as one of the speakers, but that person can serve as a panelist or expert as well. A moderated roundtable or breakout discussion session format would primarily be led by one or two moderators rather than an entire panel, who are responsible for delivering most of the educational content, in addition to facilitating roundtable discussions and/or small group breakouts. The session might cover one topic with discussions on various aspects of this topic, or it might cover several different topics. The speed networking session format is ideal when connecting with a larger number of professional contacts is needed. This format would be led by one or two moderators to deliver educational content and then facilitate the opportunity for numerous brief discussions among audience participants in a speed dating style. Those are the three formats you can choose from when submitting a networking session, but there may be other opportunities for connecting with attendees at convention. If speakers or TSHA committees have any other ideas for networking, such as non-CEU events or social activities, please reach out to programming@txsha.org and we can help you consider your idea. Well, we've shared a ton of information with you about how to put together a great call for paper submission, but you may have more questions. Reach out to us at programming@txsha.org. We'd be happy to help you navigate the submission portal, brainstorm ideas for interactive learning, or help with any other questions. TSHA is so appreciative of our speakers. You are what makes the convention program so incredible each year. Thank you.